So we've had a small discussion about platina already, but just for you. So when you read in BBCR, when you read in platina, you'll find a term written in the section of mind called abscess stock. So it's not abscess stock; it is actually unchaste stock. That's the right word. Okay. So it's a printing error. So on the website you'll find that. Okay. The action of platina is to be studied under three headings: the mental symptoms, its action on the nervous system, and its effect on the sexual organs in both male and female. Platina is rather a haughty and proud, egotistical person who looks down upon everybody and everything as beneath her. So, if there's a person who comes from a very political family or a very affluent family or a royal family for that matter, so will their arrogance be or their display of their haughtiness or their demeanor, will that be the symptom you would prescribe for? Because it is a part of their upbringing, or this is how they're programmed by their success or their connect, okay? Or because they're socio-politically upwards in the ladder, okay? So for them to behave like this, like it's absolutely less important for prescribing, okay? But I remember is very early when I was working with the government of Delhi as a chief medical officer, and for about 2 years I was posted in the headquarters. Uh, so some of the interns, they uh, uh, asked me to see a patient who had just arrived from the village, and he was uh, having uh, cancer of his tongue, and with all the usual symptoms. There was pain, there was difficulty to in talking, and there was drooling, and there was a foul odor, and the lymph nodes were enlarged. But what was interesting was, this guy from uh, a village who was barely educated, who could not even write his own name, and the way he was behaving with the doctors in the OPD, his attitude was so contemptuous, and he was so full of himself. He was far more confident than any of the doctors who were there in the OPD. And I walked in, and he was just standing, and he was, with his arm here, and he was talking to them. Can you treat this or not? He could barely speak, but his language was so commanding. And that is the hauteur of platina. And what remedy did he get? Platina. What potency did he get? 31 dose. Okay. And then uh, we followed him two more times at about monthly interval. When he was asked to come back after 2 weeks, he said, I can't come that early. and the interns were trying to explain, you've got cancer, we need to follow it, we need to run investigations. He's like, no, I'm sorry, I can't come that early, I will not. So that was also that contempt, and we saw him at probably a month and a half intervals twice. And there was his pain had gone down, the lymph nodes had gone down, and he refused to take any chemotherapy or go for a surgery or any other opinion. He's like, they were taking me to Safdarjung, but there was too much of a crowd, I'm not going to stand there. So that was his arrogance. And by the time we had the second follow up with him, after that, our head office shifted from Nehru College to Prithvihar, so we also left. But a remarkable change that we saw in him, because he actually sat down to have a conversation with the doctors there. So I think the healing started at another level altogether. But yeah,
There's often accompanying this mental condition a peculiarity of vision. Objects look smaller to her than natural. Platina also produces an excitation of the mind of the entire nervous system. Things seem horrible to her. In her imaginations, she sees ghosts, demons, etc. Everything seems strange to the patient. When she enters her own home, objects appear strange to her. She does not know where
where she is. What is this exactly, Aditi? What phenomena is this? Yeah. And this is also kind of depersonalization that she experiences. So, a lot of psychiatric symptoms that you'll find in the proving, very interesting ones.
At other times, the patient is decidedly melancholy. She thinks that death is near at hand and she fears it. She may have a decidedly hysterical mood with alternation of the attacks of laughing and crying, especially when these are respectively inappropriate. The genitals, particularly those of the female, are acutely sensitive. There is constant titillation or tingling in the sexual organs internally and externally. This excites the unfortunate victim to such a degree as to produce that horrible disease
Known as infomania.
The patient seems to have the strength of a giant. She wishes to embrace everybody. And these symptoms are accompanied by prolapse with induration of the uterus, just like autumn. The ovaries are sensitive and are the seat of burning pains. The menses are too early, too profuse, and consist of dark, stringy, clotted blood.
So, this, where else do you find dark, stringy, clotted blood? Which other remedy? Okay, and crocus sativus. Okay, crocus also has this kind of a state mind with heightened sexuality. Okay,
They are accompanied by spasms and by painful bearing down in the uterine region. They consist of a sort of tetanic rigidity with trismus, and this alternates
with dyspnea. So, when we were reading BBCR, they were talking about uh, their mood, their haughtiness with spasms, and that's the kind of spasm which can occur, for instance, in colic or in constipation or in diarrhea or, for instance, in dysmenorrhea. Okay, so
anywhere.
uh, platina also has constricting pains. Okay, constricting pains. So what happens is, what the patient will describe is as if the band is gradually getting tighter and tighter and then gradually releasing. Okay, gradually getting tighter and tighter and gradually releasing. So like uh, Lilium Tig has that sensation as if they're grasped and then let go, grasped and let go. In this, what you find is that pains are gradually constricting. So, for instance, in the headache, they'll find there's a gradually constricting headache, and then that is gradually released. Okay, and that kind of a constricting headache is found in many other remedies. Okay, carbolic acid, anacardium, nitric acid, sulfur, cactus, they all have constricting headaches. Okay, but what happens is only and only in platina we'll find that constriction to gradually increase and then gradually decrease. Are we together? Yes.
The platinum patient often suffers from neuralgia in various parts of the body. The neuralgias are very easily studied on account of their well-marked characteristic symptoms. The pains are of a cramping character and cause numbness and tingling in the parts affected. You'll find them frequently in the head. There'll be pain at the root of the nose as if the part was squeezed in a vise, and this is followed by tingling and
Numbness. Okay, so this part of the nose as if it was squeezed in a vice. Okay,
the pains increase gradually and decrease just as gradually as they fade.
as you'll find under sternum. Okay, and especially in the comparison, what I'd like to draw your attention is to verbascum. Okay, verbascum is indicated in a trigeminal neuralgia pain where there is numbing, crushing as with tongs in the painful parts, worse from talking, sneezing, change of temperature, at times associated with numbness, and daily from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. Okay, so it's the time modality which is important. And nephilium has that alternation, pain followed by numbness. Okay, and when the numbness goes away, the pain returns. So it's alternation. Platina is indicated for the ill effects of pre-pubic masturbation. It is called for by the melancholy and sheepish look that the children have. And when, as a result of this unnatural vice, spasms of an epileptiform character appear, the youth has hollow eyes and yellow skin. During the attack, the face is pale and sunken, and it might be so at all times. Consciousness is not often lost. Okay. The limbs are usually drawn up and thus spread apart. And this is how the patient sleeps also. Usually platina, they sleep on their back, the legs are drawn up and they're spread apart. Okay, this is how they sleep. So generally what you'll find is people when they sleep, even when they draw up their legs are resting one on the other. Okay, what is peculiar is when it's not just that they are parallel to each other, but they have to be wide apart. Okay, and this might be found in a little baby or in a grown-up person or an old person, irrespective of the age group or gender. So generally it is an excellent remedy for constipation. The stool is always very soft, requires a lot of effort to evacuate it, like alumina. And it's considered to be an excellent remedy for constipation for people whenever they travel, they are constipated. So that's where it is very similar to lycopodium. Okay. And in many Materia Medica, you'll find it's an excellent remedy for constipation of immigrants. Okay, people who immigrants. What's important to realize is, as I explained earlier, do not think that if there is no haughtiness, you cannot prescribe, okay, platina. Okay, so why? Because Boger also mentions as the first line, as a pathological general, a great remedy for pains. Keep that in mind. Okay, so like strontium carb, this patient is better in sunshine. Okay, they feel a lot better in sunshine.
Even in summers.
Yes, even in summers.
Pain totality is correct and it's indicating platinum. But the patient mentality or the mental symptoms are exactly opposite of platinum. Then also is
Yes, it's an excellent remedy for weeping disposition. Excellent remedy.
haughty and not at all.
Not at all. Not at all. That's what I explained in that case I was telling you about. There was no sign of that, but the fibromyalgia went away. Okay? The patient may at times be indifferent. Okay? So, there's one word that you'll find mentioned uh, in both Bogus Synoptically and Allen's keynotes. It's a remedy for chagrin. Remedy for chagrin. Okay? So, what is chagrin? Chagrin is that feeling of being disappointed. Okay? It's that feeling of being disappointed. Disappointed when either your work has not been recognized, or your efforts have not been recognized, or you've had a failure in a relationship. That feeling is the feeling of being chagrin. Now, it is very different from the mortification or vexation or when the pride is hurt. So clearly when this kind of thing is happening, the patient is not haughty. So it's not just a remedy for haughtiness. I want you to keep this in mind. So sometimes, for instance, you might prescribe Oramet in patients, and the patient may not be suicidal. Yes, no? So just because it has one aspect which has become extremely prominent, it doesn't mean we cannot prescribe it or use it the other ways. Are we together? Great. So next class we study palladium. So happy festivities and have a great time. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.